From the set of numbers 22 over 7, 3.14, and pi, write down an irrational number. Now, what are irrational numbers? Well, irrational numbers are real numbers that cannot be expressed as a simple fraction ratio of two integers. So what does that mean? That means that if we have an irrational number, irrational numbers cannot be expressed as simple fractions of two integers. So that means that if we have a fraction of two integers, we know automatically that it's not an irrational number. So 22 over 7 is definitely not an irrational number because it is a fraction of two integers, right? And so 22 over 7 is definitely not a rational number. And any fraction is not an irrational number. Any fraction of two integers, they are not irrational numbers. So that's the first thing. So 22 over 7 automatically is not an irrational number, so we could eliminate that from our choice, our list of choices. So we are just left with 3.14 and pi. What else do they say? And their decimal representations, speaking about irrational numbers, so irrational numbers can be expressed as decimals, right? And their decimal representations are non-terminating and non-repeating, which means that if we have an irrational number, because they can be expressed as decimals, if we have an irrational number that is expressed as a decimal, its decimal representation does not end. They are non-terminating. So if we have a decimal that is finite, that ends, we definitely know that it's not irrational, because if it was irrational, it would never end. And so we have 3.14, this is a decimal, right? But it ends, it's finite, it stops, right? And so this definitely is not an irrational number, all right? Why? Because, well, it's a decimal and it stops, right? But irrational numbers, their decimal representations do not end, right? It never ends. It's non-terminating. What else? It's not only non-terminating, but it's non-repeating, which means that it doesn't follow a consistent repeating pattern, all right? And so that leaves us with only one choice. It's pi. So our answer is definitely pi. Pi is our answer. And if you look at pi, if we express pi as a decimal, pi is actually equal to what? 3.14159264, and the list goes on. So it does not end, right? So it's non-terminating. And its decimal representation doesn't follow a consistent repeating pattern, so it's non-terminating. And so that means that our answer here is definitely pi. So from the set of numbers, the irrational number is pi, and that's our answer to this question.